Hi there, welcome. This is the Kelly's Astrology podcast, where you can find insight, guidance, and understanding through astrology. I'm Kelly, and I'll be your host.
Hey there, everyone, and welcome to this week's show. Today, I'm going to take a look at a really sweet and supportive transit that is happening in the second half of October and into early November. And of course, I'm talking about Venus in Libra. So technically, this very pleasant transit of Venus in Libra starts October 13 and it runs until November 6th. So in today's show, I'm going to share a little bit about the blessings or the ease that Venus in Libra might offer or might help you with. And along the way, I'm hoping that this will inspire you and maybe give you some clues or tips as to how you can cultivate a little bit more of a peaceful, agreeable quality, how you can improve all kinds of partnerships, and also how you can use Venus in Libra to enjoy a little more pleasure, leisure, and relaxation in the weeks to come. I will also touch on two aspects that Venus in Libra will be making that I think are especially important. So I'll give you those dates and details towards the end of today's show. Before we dive in, I want to let you know about my next webinar, which is all about the astrology of inheritances. So I'm going to be teaching about how to identify the topic of inheritance in a birth chart. And I'm going to share some examples, both famous examples and real life client, everyday people examples, showing the timing cycles that are active when people are dealing with inheritance matters. So if you'd like to learn more about this increasingly important topic, I hope to see you in my live webinar on the astrology of inheritance this month. Pop over to kellysastrology.com where you can find out more, or you can sign up today. Okay, so Venus is going to be in Libra. She is coming to one of her home signs for about a month. This is something that Venus does every year. And there's some technical factors that can indicate Venus in Libra in one year is more juicy and effective than Venus in Libra in a different year might be. And we have a variety of combinations that really helps amplify all of the kind of most effective and functional factors of Venus in Libra this month. So before we get into some of that technical material, I want to tell you about some of the themes that Venus in Libra is really good for. At a very simple level, we have Venus being well supported to do Venus themes or things. So anything that would fall under the umbrella of a topic that is managed or influenced by Venus, we know is going to be improved or enjoyed at a very high level over this Venus in Libra transit. So that helps with all kinds of relationships, and it also helps with pleasure, leisure, and enjoyment, which is an equally important feature of what Venus is all about. So the arts, beauty, a sense of feeling comfortable in your body, like esteem around your personal quality of beauty, for instance. Now, Libra itself is a sign about tact and diplomacy. It's a sign about negotiation, about compromise, about teamwork, and about collaboration. So these are clues that in the sign of Libra, we're not going solo. We are working with others, or we're forming partnerships and teams to move forward together. Now, Libra is represented by the scales, and that's often referred to as the scales of justice. So the scales of meting out what is fair, what is merciful, what is going to bring justice or integrity into the space. But those scales of Libra can also be the merchant's scales. So the scales in the marketplace that might weigh out your produce in the grocery store to make sure that there's a fair trade or that there is a fair bargain that is struck. That if you're paying for a kilo of apples, you get a kilo of apples for your price. And so this is where we get into the Libran scales invite conversation and discussion so that we can all make sure we're on the same page about any agreements that we're involved in. So when Venus is at home in Libra, which we have for that 4-week period starting October 13, you really get a very special chance to talk things through in a more reasonable way, to talk things through with anyone about any topic, but in a more reasonable, respectful, and maybe kind or considerate manner. And that can help if we need to bring up a sensitive subject, or we are thinking about renegotiating or changing an existing agreement. So whether you are wanting to have a thoughtful conversation about improving that sense of fairness or equity in a work situation, with a loved one, with a friend, this Venus in Libra transit is really helpful if you want to update any agreements that you're already in. So you want to make things more fair, maybe circumstances have changed. We need to go back to that drawing board. And Venus in Libra is going to help with those discussions around how to make agreements more reasonable for everyone involved. Now, as I mentioned, one of Venus's primary topics is relationships. Venus is the planet we go to when we're talking about partnerships. And when Venus is in one of her home signs, like she is in Libra, that makes it easier to sweeten, improve, and stabilize any of your really special relationships. So that can be with friends, with family or work connections, and of course, with your primary romantic relationship. So Venus is wanting to support a better quality experience in all of our relationships. And that's what we can work towards. That's what we can be cultivating in terms of improved relationships while Venus is in Libra. So because Venus in Libra is all about agreements and finding accord and everybody getting on the same page, Venus is a planet that's about togetherness, about cohesion. And so she wants people to kind of agree to what's going on. And that's especially so when Venus is in Libra, an air sign, where we get that intellectual component. And so if you've been in a tense situation, or a person or partnership that you're involved in has been a little disappointing or a little bit frustrating, or it's been kind of wobbly and inconsistent of late, this transit of Venus in Libra can help you negotiate your way into a more kind of stable rhythm, or into a kind of more reasonable pattern of being in relationship together. So Venus in Libra is going to help improve all kinds of relationships through that realm of conversation, discussion, negotiation. We're doing it in a kind and respectful way, but we're talking things out to everyone's benefit. So if you've had any ruptured connections, Venus in Libra can help with repairing or reconnecting. So what we're talking about here, technically speaking, is that Venus is in domicile or in rulership in Libra. And it's that effective influence of Venus being in domicile that helps improve all kinds of partnerships. So those Libran qualities of fairness and of balance and even of harmony, they might inspire you to work towards more harmonious, kind of easy or smooth interactions with others. So because Venus in Libra is technically what we would say well-resourced, which is what a planet in one of its home signs is. It's like Venus has access to the tools that will help her improve Venus things. That's where we get this kind of secret to the sweet life or secret to better relationships at the moment is talking things through. So you can talk your way through difficult topics right now. If you just want to enjoy more of the good life or the sweet life with your favorite people, Venus in Libra is really on side helping you improve your most precious partnerships. Now, we've talked a lot about relationships, but that's not all that Venus is about. One of the other important sets of topics that Venus manages or in charge of is anything to do with leisure, pleasure, enjoyment, relaxation. Venus is the planet that can remind you to smell the roses or to enjoy the sweet life rather than just working or worrying all the time. And so while Venus is in Libra over the next few weeks, we really want to figure out how to kind of set aside worry or take a break from work and duty so that we can enjoy relaxation, leisure, kind of fun, non-productive activities. So while Venus is in Libra in the next few weeks, you might choose to honor Venus by making space for relaxation, making space for fun and enjoying connection. So taking time to do things that aren't productive, they're not an errand or a task, they're not necessary. Venus is like, this isn't necessary, but we're all going to really enjoy it. We're going to make some memories. We're going to have a good time. It's just going to be fun. So remembering the importance of fun is something that we can get beautifully reminded of when Venus is in Libra. So Venus is something that also focuses or can help us amplify ease and enjoyment. So whether you're thinking about time with friends, wanting to enjoy a film or an arts performance, maybe you just want to slow down and have some quiet, unscheduled time. Any chance you get to do that over the next few weeks is a way of honoring Venus. Now, I mentioned there were a couple of aspects that I think are important to keep in mind while Venus is in Libra. One of them is kind of a little small aspect, and the other one is really potent. So we'll start with the small one. This is when the moon will come into Libra and join with Venus, and this happens on October 19, just a couple of days before the new moon itself. So we have moon conjunct Venus in Libra. It's around 7 degrees of Libra on Sunday the 19th. And this aspect really highlights togetherness. You know, the moon coming to Venus is like, yeah, let's get closer. Let's bond. Let's kind of cuddle up together. Let's kind of just revel in the sweetness of being together. That can be you and your best friend, you and your favorite family member, you and a coworker that just have like your own special connection. And of course, it can be you and your romantic partner as well. Because this Moon-Venus connection will happen while the moon is in her dark balsamic phase, it does encourage togetherness and connection and affection, but it really highlights connection and relaxation that takes place in private or in more secluded settings. So this Moon-Venus aspect, it's not like being at a large event with lots of people. It's more kind of a more intimate, like inner circle. These are my most special friends or family, and we're just having a really lovely experience or exchange together. Now, the other aspect, the more kind of potent, juicy, maybe banner aspect, is Venus in Libra square Jupiter in Cancer. Now, just before I get into that, what we're talking about here is one of the best things about why we should be talking about Venus in Libra this October, which is that we have both benefic planets in great signs, and that is for the whole second half of October and about the first week of November. Jupiter is in Cancer, the sign of its exaltation. There's a really detailed blog post on this on my website. And now, of course, we have Venus coming into Libra, one of her home signs. So this is like double benefics, double blessings for almost 4 weeks, second half of October, early November. So generally speaking, when Venus and Jupiter are both in great sign condition, it helps activate support and encouragement. It can highlight very sweet or timely opportunities. And it's helpful for connection, collaboration, for community. It can activate abundance. It's not necessarily or only financial abundance, but abundance of spirit or abundance of feeling or abundance of connection with Venus square Jupiter. So it's a particularly auspicious combination to have both Venus and Jupiter in great signs, but also to have those two signs that they're in be signs that aspect or see each other, because of course, Cancer to Libra, Cancer where Jupiter is, Libra, of course, where Venus is, are signs that do form one of our classical square aspects. So this generally benefic auspicious combination with Venus and Jupiter, both in great signs, kind of culminates or come to its most juicy, kind of potent sense of potential around November 2nd, when Venus in Libra makes an exact square aspect to Jupiter in Cancer. And this is a sparkling aspect that highlights so many of the good and enjoyable elements in life. So November 2nd, you might still be enjoying it. Like you may get it early on the 1st. It may linger a little bit onto the 3rd. But early November, we have a really great aspect that is perfect for making fun plans, so booking things for the future. But it's also a great omen for having a really good time on that weekend, that first weekend in November. So you might be enjoying a special or meaningful experience with some of your favorite people. You might be really kind of generously or in an over-the-top way expressing your affection or your gratitude for your favorite people. So there's a lot of that kind of feel good, enjoying those lovely connections that we have energy around that first weekend in November. So that is one of our most kind of uplifting, heartwarming aspects that we have in this late October, early November period. Venus square Jupiter on November 2nd. Now, I mentioned earlier in the show, there are a couple of technical aspects that really enhance the helpful potential of Venus in Libra. So let me tell you what they are. So the first is that while Venus is in Libra, she has no aspects or influence from Mars in Scorpio or Saturn in Pisces. So what that kind of means for Venus in Libra is there's no outside interference, there's no disruptions, there's no obstacles in her way. She's just cruising, doing Venus in Libra things without any input from Mars or Saturn. So Venus in Libra is free to express and explore her interests and to promote her topics in kind of an unrestrained way, which just really helps amplify the potential. This will be the last time for a few years that Venus in Libra doesn't have a major aspect from Saturn, because when we get to Venus in Libra in 2026 and beyond, we're going to have Saturn in Aries, and that will change how we experience Venus in Libra for the next few years. So that's part of why I wanted to talk about this this year. Is like, let's make the most of it. What do we want to do to improve or enhance Venus things in our lives, but very specifically to improve or enhance the topics of the Libra part of our chart and life. So if Libra is third house of siblings for you, then they're the people you want to focus all this sweet, helpful energy on, enhancing and improving sibling connections. If Libra is 11th house of friends for you, then you really want to focus on your friendships with this Venus in Libra transit. Maybe Libra is 10th house of career for you, and if that's the case, you want to focus all this juicy Venus in Libra, no problems from Mars or Saturn, and help from Jupiter and Cancer energy on updating, improving, enhancing your career and your professional path. Okay. So that's technical piece one, no aspect from Mars and Saturn. And we're really getting into the, how to apply this in your own chart. Think about Venus in Libra helping improve your experiences of the Libra house topics in your chart and life. Technical feature number two, while Venus is in Libra this year, Venus is in her morning star phase. So she is rising before the sun. And Venus is more assertive, more expressive, more outward, more kind of forward-looking in her morning star phase. She's more active, more vibrant, and that really, it's a subtle thing, but it's a very important visual piece of why Venus in Libra in 2025 is especially effective and useful. So for all those reasons, I'm like, let's get out there and be inspired by Venus in Libra to make these improvements, to have these conversations, to express our affections, and to make time for enjoyment, because life is meant to include, leisure activities as well. So to recap, Venus in Libra, great cycle from a number of technical perspectives. Venus is in her home sign. She is in her morning star phase. She's going to have an aspect with Jupiter and no aspect from Mars and Saturn. And we've gone through many of the topics that Venus will be supporting while she's in Libra. So she's going to help you with repair, with reconnection, with resolutions and agreements, with making agreements or just relationships more fair. And Venus in Libra can also help you with that sweetness and finding ease. Like, is there an easier way that we can do this? Might be a question you find yourself asking with Venus in Libra. Let's make it simple so we can focus on enjoying rather than managing really complicated, technicalities. Venus in Libra is a very social placement. All the air signs are oriented towards human connection. And it's one of the reasons why I think a lot about friendship and community ties with Venus in Libra or Venus in any air sign, really. So Venus in Libra, of course, is going to highlight the importance of social and community ties, and it can really support all kinds of collaborations and teamwork. If there's a community you want to join, a group you want to get involved in, people that you want to connect with or speak with, Venus in Libra is like, let's go, let's do it. And because Libra is an air sign, Venus in Libra is helping improve thinking and conversations. And that can help ensure any agreements that you make or plans that you are putting together are going to be really fair and respectful for everyone involved. And that's why I think talking things through, just having a conversation about it, let's just touch base, let's not message back and forward, let's get on the phone and just talk it out. That's going to be like your secret to the sweet life this month. So I hope you enjoy this very pleasant and very auspicious Venus in Libra transit this year, 2025. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I'll be back to share more again real soon. Until then, take care.